Before it was the Jewel of the North, Neverwinter was a scar. After Mount Hotenau's eruption and the chaos of the Spellplague, the city lay in ruin, a battlefield of monsters, mercenaries, and desperate survivors. What follows is a historical tour of that age of desperation, when Neverwinter fought not for power or pride, but simply to endure. We will trace its districts, its factions, and the forces that shaped its fragile rebirth. Neverwinter wasn't built in a day. It was carved from ambition, guarded by honor, and warmed by the river that never froze, even in the dead of winter. That's where it got its name, and for centuries it lived up to that. Founded by Lord Haliweth Never, the city became a beacon of culture and commerce. The Alagondor dynasty ruled with wisdom and strength. Bards sang in the streets, mages studied in the tower, and the city's walls held firm against war and time. That is, until everything broke. First came the Spellplague, a magical sickness that twisted reality itself. Then the eruption of Mount Hotenau. Fire rained from the sky, buildings collapsed, thousands died, and the royal family was lost. Neverwinter became a ruin. The chasm split the city open, the dead refused to stay buried, and monsters crawled from the shadows, drawn by the chaos. After all that's when Lord Dagult Neverember arrived. A noble from Waterdeep, he claimed descent from the Alagondors and declared himself protector of Neverwinter. He brought gold, mercenaries, and a plan to rebuild. Some welcomed him, others called him a fraud. The city did begin to heal, but not without scars. That was then. Now, after a generation of his rule, the physical scars are mostly gone. The massive effort succeeded. Neverwinter is no longer a ruin. The chasm is sealed and built upon. The cloak tower still stands, though repaired and rededicated to new mages. The Neverwinter River remains warm, a constant memory of the fire, but it now powers a bustling modern port. The Alagondar dynasty is history, but their heraldry has been co-opted and flown beneath Neverember's own banner. Today, Neverwinter is a city caught between memory and rebirth. Its streets are haunted by its past, its future is uncertain, but its story is far from over. If Neverwinter has a heartbeat, it's here, in the Protector's Enclave. This is the first district Lord Neverember reclaimed when he arrived from Waterdeep. It's where the money flows, where the walls are strongest, and where the Lord Protector himself holds court in the Hall of Justice. The Enclave is the safest part of the city, or at least, that's the idea. Mercenaries patrol the streets, enforcing Neverember's law with a heavy hand. They are not beloved, but they are effective, at least for now. You'll find the Moonstone Mask perched on a floating rock just off the coast, a tavern and inn that somehow survived the cataclysm. It's a favorite haunt for adventurers, spies, and anyone with coin to spend and secrets to share. The place is run by Lizette Chelder, who's as sharp as she is charming. If you want to know what's really happening in Neverwinter, buy a drink and listen very closely. Nearby, the House of Knowledge still stands. Barely. Once a temple to Ogma, god of knowledge, it's now a shattered ruin. But don't let the broken walls fool you. The Harpers have returned, using the ruins as a base to quietly resist tyranny and corruption. They're watching, listening, and they're waiting. The district is a symbol of what Neverwinter was, and what it might still become. But it's also a powder keg. The Lord Protector's grip is tight, and not everyone's willing to be ruled by a man they never really chose. That was then. Now, the Enclave is a testament to Neverember's power and influence. He no longer rules from the Hall of Justice. That has been returned to the Priests of Tyr. Instead, he holds court in Castle Never itself, the ancient fortress reclaimed from the dead and rebuilt into a true seat of power. The streets are no longer patrolled by foreign mercenaries, but by the disciplined Neverwinter Guard. You'll still find the Moonstone Mask floating above the docks, but it doesn't feel like a lifeboat anymore. It feels like a palace. Lizette has survived the transition of power beautifully, cementing her in as the place where the new elite come to deal. Nearby, the House of Knowledge has risen from its ruins. It is a functioning library once again, not just a shell. But the Harpers haven't gone anywhere. They've just traded the shadows of ruins for the shadows of bookshelves, watching to ensure Neverember's order doesn't become a cage. South of the Protector's Enclave, the city ends, and something else begins. The wall marks the edge of civilization. It's not a fortress, not really. Just a barricade of stone and steel hastily built to hold back the impossible. Beyond it lies the chasm, a massive wound in the earth torn open during the cataclysm. It stretches deep into the Underdark, down into a subterranean lake where the Spellplague still churns, alive, hungry, and changing everything it touches. The air near the chasm feels very wrong. People stationed at the wall grow very paranoid as well, moody and suspicious, and lately the nightmares have spread, even to those who sleep far from its edge. The terrain around the chasm is a maze of shattered buildings and twisted streets. Patrols rarely return. Those who do often carry marks, glowing burns, warped limbs, or worse. Lord Neverember sends the infected to Helm's Hold, hoping for a cure, but no one really knows what the Spellplague wants. And then there are the monsters. Plague-changed horrors crawl up from the depths. Harpies' nests in broken towers, shrieking warnings to the creatures below. If you're spotted, you'll be hunted. Not just by beasts, but by something older and smarter. The aboleths. They dwell deep beneath the chasm, in a place called the Cauldron of Blue Fire. They've learned to shape the Spellplague, twisting kidnapped victims into foul spawn and servitors. Their goal isn't chaos, it's control. The wall holds, at least for now, but it's definitely not enough. The aboleths send scouts through the sewers. They whisper to the orcs across the river. They plan, and they wait. And if the chasm ever truly opens, Neverwinter will fall again. That was then. Now go to the southeastern quarter today, and the wall is gone. The gaping wound has been erased. Using immense wealth and arcane effort, Lord Neverember had the chasm sealed. The area, now known as the Reclamation Site, is a bustling district of new businesses and homes. It is heralded as the Lord Protector's greatest miracle. But locals still whisper. They say the sealing was rushed, a victory of willpower over nature. They say the ground feels thin, and that Neverember didn't destroy the horrors below. He simply put a lid on them. It is a district built on a secret, where the foundation is something no architect would ever trust. Just east of the Protector's Enclave lies a place where the dead refuse to rest. Neverdeath Graveyard was once a quiet and sacred space, a final resting place for nobles, heroes, and common folk alike. But after the cataclysm, something changed. The graves cracked open, the tombs split, and the dead began to rise. Valendra's Shadowmantle, a powerful necromancer from Thay, has claimed this place as her own. She's using it as a staging ground, raising undead servants and searching for something deeper. Some say she's trying to open a permanent gateway to the Shadowfell. Others believe she's after the remains of the Neverwinter 9, legendary bodyguards of the royal line. Either way, the graveyard is no longer sacred, it's a battlefield. The air here is cold, even in summer. Mist clings to the ground, statues weep moss, and every shadow might be watching you. The mercenaries patrol the edges, but they don't go far. Too many have vanished. Too many have returned, changed. Neverdeath is a reminder that in Neverwinter, even memory can be dangerous. The past doesn't stay buried, and sometimes it fights back. That was then. Now, decades later, the war for the graveyard is over. Lord Neverember's forces successfully drove Valindra and her Thayan necromancers out of the city. The walls are rebuilt and the gates are locked. But the spiritual decay didn't leave. The area is technically stable, but the unnatural cold remains. It is now an active containment zone. The Neverwinter Guard doesn't patrol inside, they guard the perimeter to keep the dead in. It serves as a grim reminder that while walls can be rebuilt, some curses are permanent. At the western edge of the city stands a ruin that once ruled it all. Castle Never. Once the seat of the Allegandor dynasty, this fortress was a symbol of Neverwinter's pride and power. Its towers rose high above the city, its halls echoed with the voices of kings and queens. But when the cataclysm struck, the castle fell hard. Towers collapsed, fires raged, the royal family was lost. And the survivors, the servants, the guards, they sealed the vaults and crypts, hoping that one day a true heir would return. Today, Castle Never is a battlefield. Its outer walls are cracked and crumbling. Statues lie shattered in the courtyard. Inside, the air is thick with ash and silence, but it's definitely not empty. Ghosts linger here, the spirits of the Alagandars and their loyal retainers. Some weep, some rage. Some whisper secrets to those brave enough to listen. But they don't take kindly to thieves, and they guard their resting place with a fury born of betrayal. Valindra's Shadow Mantle wants what lies beneath this ruin. She's after the bodies of the Neverwinter Nine, the legendary royal bodyguards entombed in the Vault of the Nine. If she can raise them, twist them, make them hers, she'll have an undead strike force unlike any other. But she's not the only threat. Ettercaps infest the upper spires, driven there by Valindra's undead. A beholder named Talgath has moved in, seeking to conquer the castle from above. And deep below, in the maze-like catacombs of Neverdeath, traps reset themselves, corridors shift, and madness waits in the dark. Castle Never is more than just a ruin, it's a crucible, a place where the past refuses to die, and the future might be forged, or destroyed. That was then. Now the state of Castle Never is the ultimate symbol of Neverember's victory. He didn't just drive the monsters out, he moved in. Valindra failed to claim the Nine. The Beholder was slain. The madness of Neverdeath has been paved over. It is no longer a chaotic battlefield. It is the sanctum of the Lord Protector. While he holds court here, the castle remains a fortress. The outer walls are repaired, though the scars of the collapse are still visible beneath the new stonework. Neverember claims the castle and the right to rule by virtue of conquest and restoration. But the ghosts remain, silent now. They watch from behind newly repaired windows, and the greatest mystery isn't the monsters, but the politics. Did Neverember find the proof of lineage he needed in the vaults, or is he sitting on a throne that rejects him? North of the Enclave lies Blacklake, a district that survived the cataclysm, but not the politics that followed. Once the home of Neverwinter's nobility, Blacklake is a place of crumbling estates and quiet resentment. The streets are lined with mansions and that still bear the scars of fire and quake. But it's not the ruins that makes this place dangerous. It is the people. The Sons of Alagandar, a rebel faction loyal to the old royal line, operate here. They do not recognize Lord Neverember's claim to the throne. They see him as a usurper, an outsider, and they're definitely not subtle about it. Graffiti marks the walls, secret meetings happen in basements and back rooms, and when the mercenaries patrol, they do so in pairs or not at all. But Blacklake isn't just a war zone, it is a neighborhood. The Driftwood Tavern still serves drinks and stories, run by Madame Rosine, who's seen more than she lets on. Locals gather here to share rumors, plan resistance, or just escape the tension for just a few hours. And beneath it all, literally, the Dead Rats gang runs their operation through the sewers. They're thieves, saboteurs, and pests. But they know the city better than anyone, and they're not above selling secrets to the highest bidder. Blacklake is a powder keg, a place where memory fuels rebellion, and every shadow, well, might be watching you, but I think they all are. That was then. Now Lord Neverember's money finally reached Blacklake. The mansions are rebuilt, housing the new wealthy elite, merchants and nobles who realized it pays to be loyal to the Lord Protector. The open rebellion is dead. The Sons of Alagandar haven't vanished, but they've been forced into the shadows. They no longer patrol the streets, they hide in them. The chaotic violence of gangs like the Dead Rats has been swept away, replaced by the suffocating order of the Guard. Blacklake is no longer a war zone. It is a gilded cage. The physical scars are hidden behind fresh paint, but the resentment hasn't healed. It has just gone quiet. The River District takes its name from the Neverwinter River, and it's the only reason this part of the city hasn't been completely overrun. To the south lies the Chasm, to the east the Cloak Tower, and in between, a war zone in slow motion. The district was once home to the city's merchant class. The houses here are sturdy, practical, big enough for families and servants. But now they're mostly abandoned. Overgrown gardens choke the streets, guard houses stand empty, and beasts from the wild stalk the ruins, hunting anything that moves. The mercenaries rarely patrol this far. The orcs of the Many Arrows tribe have claimed the district, led by a brutal warrior named Vancy. She rules from the Cloak Tower, once the home of a powerful mage guild called the Many-Starred Cloaks. The tower vanished during the Spellplague and reappeared months later, empty, or so people thought. Now it's the orc stronghold, and despite Lord Neverember's bluster, he hasn't been able to dislodge them. The Fallen Tower Tavern sits nearby, a broken wizard's tower turned drinking hall. Each night, ghostly illusions replay the deaths of 4 mages who perished during the Spellplague. It's gruesome, mesmerizing, and somehow it's become a neutral ground. Vancy and Neverember use the Fallen Tower to negotiate. No one draws steel here. Not unless they want every blade in the room turned on them. And then there's the Shard of Night, a floating tower of black stone that casts no shadow by day, but looms like a nightmare under moonlight. No one goes in. No one comes out. But sometimes you hear things. Echoes, whispers, screams. The truth? It's a piece of Moonshadow Hall, a temple of Selûne, goddess of the moon, stolen by the Netherese and banished to the Shadowfell. It's back now, and is watching. That was then. Now the River District is no longer a war zone. Lord Neverember understood that securing this district was securing the economy. The orcs of the Many Arrows tribe have been entirely driven out, and the Cloak Tower has been reclaimed, repaired, and re-established as the center of arcane study. The mercenaries have been replaced by the ever-present Neverwinter Guard, who keep a watchful eye on the booming essential trade that flows through the docks. The old landmarks remain, but their purpose has been completely changed. The Falling Tower Tavern is still there, but it is no longer neutral ground for warlords. It's a popular establishment that leans into its gruesome ghost stories for tourist dollars. And the ominous Shard of Night, Neverember's mages failed to move it, so it was simply walled off and guarded. It remains a perpetual silent reminder that some chaos cannot be conquered by gold and steel. If the Protector's Enclave is the city's heart, the docks are its lungs, always moving, always breathing. This is where ships from across the Sea of Swords once arrived daily, bringing spices, silks, and stories from distant lands. But after the cataclysm, the harbor was left in ruins. Piers splintered, warehouses collapsed, and the sea itself turned hostile. But Neverwinter doesn't give up easily. The docks are being rebuilt, slowly, stubbornly. Sailors and merchants have returned, hauling crates through the mud and the ash. The Tarmulaine trade house, backed by coin from distant Akunil, has set up shop here, trying to carve out a new foothold in the chaos. Then there's the Beach Leviathan, a grounded ship turned tavern, run by a dragonborn named Harag. It's loud, rowdy, and always full of stories. If you want to hire a crew, find a smuggler, or disappear for a few days, this is the place. But the waters here aren't safe. Saguin, sea devils, have been spotted near the harbor, attacking ships and dragging sailors into the depths. Some say they're being driven by something deeper, something older, but no one's dared to find out. The docks are a symbol of Neverwinter's grit. Broken, battered, but still standing. Still trading, still fighting to matter. That was then. Now the docks are no longer a slow, stubborn reconstruction. They are the lungs of the flourishing economy. Lord Neverember's investment here was massive and successful. The piers have been restored. The warehouses are full. The large ships from Waterdeep, Luskan, and distant lands arrive daily. The trade house has seen its early advantage lost to success. It is now one of the many powerful guilds competing fiercely for control of the new wealth. The beached Leviathan is still the place for a drink, but it caters less to desperate adventurers and more to well-heeled ship captains and high-stakes trade negotiations. The waters are safer, but not entirely peaceful. The immediate threat of the Sakuan has been pushed back, replaced by the eternal challenges of piracy and organized crime, which thrive in every major success story. The docks have driven the city's spectacular economic rebirth. If you really want to understand Neverwinter, you have to go beneath it. The city's underbelly is a labyrinth of shattered sewers, forgotten crypts, and ancient tunnels, a place where the sun never reaches and the law rarely follows. When the cataclysm hit, the sewers collapsed in places, cracked open in others. Now they're a maze of unstable passages and flooded corridors, and they're certainly not empty. The aboliths from the chasms have sent their servants crawling through these tunnels, spreading the Spellplague like a sickness. Oozes, otyugs, and worse now call the sewers home. And if the monsters don't get you, well, the tunnels themselves might, with cave-ins, ambushes, and sudden floods. But danger has its uses. The Dead Rats gang thrive down here. They've carved out a warren beneath the Blacklake District, filling it with stolen goods, traps, and trash. Their leader, a were-rat named Razulk, rules from a hoarder's throne near the lake. He's even rigged a flood trap. One pull of a lever and the tunnels drown in Black Lake's waters. And then there's the Kraken tunnels, once the lair of the Kraken Society, a cabal of slavers and smugglers. These octopus-shaped halls now serve the Sons of Alagandar. The rebels use them to meet with the Grey Cloaks and hide their most dangerous secret, a plague-changed sea kraken lurking in the flooded catacombs below. The creature is ancient, twisted, gone half mad from the Spellplague, but it still remembers the symbol of its former masters, the octopus sigil of the Kraken Society. Anyone wearing it walks safely. Everyone else is fair game. The tunnels connect to the Dead Rat's lair, giving the rebels a secret route through the city. For now, the Alliance holds, but secrets like that, well, they don't stay buried forever. That was then. Now, Neverember's control extends even here. The official policy is that the sewers and catacombs are secured and routinely patrolled by specialized units of the Neverwinter Guard. The aboleth influence tied directly to the now sealed chasm has significantly weakened. The old chaos has been replaced by calculated order. The Dead Rats gang was shattered by the focused cleanup, and the tunnels are now used by highly professional smuggling rings. Rings that pay tribute to corrupt officials in the river district. The underground is simply an extension of the surface's new economic power. The greatest change is to the rebel strategic network. With the Sons of Alagandar forced into covert politics, their alliance with the unstable plague-changed Kraken was deemed an unacceptable risk. The Kraken tunnels have been sealed off, with the creature either subdued or left to slowly perish, a powerful weapon abandoned by the war-weary rebels. The underground is no longer a chaotic free-for-all, but a series of dangerous containment zones and secret routes. It is the perfect place for those wealthy or desperate enough to pay the price of evading the Lord Protector's thorough surface surveillance. If the wall marks the edge of the city, the chasm marks the edge of reason. Climbing down into it is like falling into a nightmare. The first 100 feet are steep, but manageable, until the air starts to shimmer with heat, and the stone itself begins to twist. This is where the Spellplague lives. The walls pulse with chaotic energy, earth motes drift like broken thoughts, lightning arcs from nowhere, and the deeper you go, the more the world stops making sense. Creatures ride the currents of magic like birds on the wind. Plague-changed horrors, foul spawn, things that were once people rest here. And the madness creeps in. Fail to resist, and it takes you. At the bottom of the upper reach lies the Twisted Fane, a fortress of black stone wrapped around a massive glowing crystal. It hums with power, it pulses like a heartbeat, and it's a lie. The crystal is a decoy, a trap. The foul spawn that worship it are puppets, placed there by the aboleths to fool intruders. They want you to think you've reached the source, that you've won. The real danger lies deeper still. Beneath the fane is a honeycomb of tunnels, the plague-changed warrens, thousands of breeding pits filled with embryonic sacs, each one pulsing with blue fire. This is where the aboleths twist the flesh of their captives, fusing Spellplague and psionics to create new horrors. And below that, the cauldron of blue fire. A vast cavern, 500 feet wide, with a glowing lake of Spellplague at its center. The fumes rise in waves, brimstone, citrus, rot, and pine. The water glows like a living thing, and in its depths the aboleths sing. Their song shapes the chaos, controls it, burns them out even as it empowers them. Captured victims float in bubbles beneath the surface, some still struggling, others long since broken. And if you've made it this far, the aboleths will notice. They'll either destroy you or try to make you theirs. This is the true bottom of the chasm, the heart of the city's sickness, and the place where Neverwinter's fate may one day be decided. That was then. Now Lord Neverember has seemingly achieved the impossible. The chasm has been sealed, capped, and paved over. The greatest victory is that the Spellplague and the aboleths are suppressed, no longer controlling the city from below. The source of the city's sickness is no longer visible. It is a silent, subterranean secret. When you walk the streets, you are walking directly above where the cauldron of blue fire once pulsed. The danger has shifted entirely. The city is now challenged not by monsters, but by the weight of its own success, walking on unstable foundations governed by a political lie that everything is safe, simply because it's been silenced. Neverwinter is a city of contradictions. It's a place where nobles sip wine in crumbling manors, while rebels plot in the sewers, where orcs and humans negotiate peace in haunted towers, where the dead rise, the Spellplague festers, and ancient horrors whisper from the deep. And yet this city lives. It rebuilds, it resists, it remembers. For every monster in the dark, there is a hero in the light. For every secret war, a quiet act of kindness. For every ruin, a chance to begin again. This is what makes Neverwinter more than just a setting. It is a character, wounded, proud, and fiercely alive. We've only scratched the surface. There are still stories to tell, of the factions that shape the city, the people who fight for it, and the ancient powers that seek to reclaim it. We have completed our tour of the ruined city. The chaos has been witnessed, the open rebellion, the shattered castles, the aboleths singing from the deep, defined Neverwinter for a generation. But history did not stop there. Today, Neverwinter is a city in recovery, and that recovery is largely complete. Lord Neverember is no longer a desperate mercenary claimant, but the firmly established Lord Protector. The scars we have seen have been paved over, the chasm is sealed, the source of danger now buried deep beneath the heart of the city. The monsters have been driven out of the districts, which now serves as the engine of the city's spectacular economic growth. The city is ruled not by chaos, but by control. The mercenaries are gone, replaced by the rigid authority of the Neverwinter Guard. But beneath this restored beauty, the conflict still remains. The Sons of Alagondar still plot, now as a necessary covert resistance against the corruption hidden behind Neverember's gold. The Moonstone Mask still floats, and the House of Knowledge is fully restored, symbolizing a return to culture, but always under the watchful eye of the Lord Protector. Neverwinter isn't what it was. It may never be the pure, noble city of the Alagondar past, but that story is far from done. The challenge for heroes today is not one of survival against this open ruin, but one of morality and political risk. We have looked back at the city of fire and ruin. Now the new heroes are tasked with navigating the new city of secrets and control. So thank you for walking the streets of Neverwinter with me today. As always, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, in Neverwinter, nothing can stay buried forever. This is James from the Dungeon Puffin, everybody. Later, guys.